Hey team, welcome to this training where we are going to go ahead and explain what are automations and workflows, what are the awesomeness that you can do with automations and exactly how you're going to be able to help you run them inside of your business and how they're going to literally change the game for your business as well. So we're going to go over the foundational understanding of everything. So that's why this training is going to be so important, because if you don't understand what we're going to talk about inside of this training, none of what we talk about next is going to make any sense, especially when we get into these step-by-step. So we are going to go ahead and talk about, hey, what are automations? Which automation software to use, as well as, hey, are you going to have to build these out yourself? Spoiler alert, you're not going to, because this is awesome, right? We go ahead and help you with everything here as a part of the program. So let's go and jump into it. What are automations? So automations are going to be a small computer command program that's going to help you literally drag and drop different tasks for you. So you can kind of think of it like a little assistant that runs on autopilot whenever a condition is met, and it literally saves you hundreds of thousands of dollars in labor and admin costs, so you never have to worry about them ever again, right? So they're basically little if, and then if this is met, and the if is called trigger, then do different actions or just one action, right? So you can have it set up to do one action or multiple different actions based off of what you want it to do, right? And you can also go ahead and time and say, you know what, wait, X amount of hours or X amount of time in between the different actions. So that is what it allows you to do. If, then, right? Now, here's a simple example is like, let's say, for example, if a client books an appointment, then send them an email immediately, right? You can dictate whatever that email is going to be, send them a text message an hour afterwards, and then 1 hour before their appointment, make sure you email them a reminder, and then 10 minutes before their appointment, go ahead and send them a text message. So that's an example of the if, and then the then, and all the different actions that you can program it to be. And then if you think about it, without the power of this very simple automation over here, right? Without the process of this automation, you would have to remember and think about when to send the text messages and emails manually, and you might have to go ahead and put a reminder on your phone, and then you got to be able to have to do that. Imagine having to try and remember that for all of your different appointments every single time, every single day, to be able to get them exactly right. It would be impossible, right? It would take an insane amount of time and energy. You'd literally have to hire somebody full time in order to be able to keep up with that, right? So with automations, you don't have to worry about any of that. You can literally, as soon as somebody schedules, they get the email, they get the text reminders, they get to be able to reschedule. You get to send them the reschedule link as well. And again, that's just one example. There's so many different things that you can actually go ahead and automate, right? With automations, you can literally build pretty much anything inside of your business, right? Think about these kinds of automations. If someone visits X page on my website, immediately send them an email. Think about how powerful that is, right? Imagine if somebody visits a website, right? Your website, and then immediately get a text message from you. It's like, whoa, this person is like omnipotent or something. They know that I'm on their website, right? If it is a contact's birthday, send them do this, right? If a contact replies with something, do this. If a contact submits a form, do this. If a contact clicks a link, do this. If a contact pays an invoice, do this, right? If a invoice is overdue, do this. If a client misses a payment, do this. If someone sends you a DM, think about how cool this is because of the fact that it's a business platform that integrates with all of these other platforms as well. So if somebody sends you a DM on Instagram, do this. If somebody sends you a DM on Instagram, hook it up to ChatGPT AI so that way to reply to them via AI. Oh, you see? So literally anything that your mind can think of, you can probably find a way to be able to automate with workflows. You can even personalize the messages inside of those specific automations and actions with the person's name, or you can customize the information that is something specific about them. How cool is that, right? It's very, very, very cool. And so this is the power of what you're going to be learning inside of this training. It's something that most new business owners don't have any idea on how to actually start or how it actually works. But I'm telling you, once you learn this skill, it is going to unlock everything for you. It is so, so, so powerful. We've been able to save over $60,000 to $100,000 every single year in people that we would have otherwise had to hire in order to actually have them do some of these automations. So now that we've learned this skill, we're able to go ahead and get these set up in our business. And that's exactly what you're going to be learning as well. Pretty cool, right? Very, very cool. So we're not joking. Unlocking this skill on how to use automations inside of your business is that powerful, but do not be fooled. For sure, this is a skill. And when we say it's a skill, it means that you start off and you think you're like, you know what? You're not even conscious of how incompetent you are on this skill. But then via the knowledge that you acquire through these trainings, you're going to start to become consciously incompetent. You're going to become conscious. You're going to become aware of how incompetent you are on how big this entire world of automations actually is. And then as you go ahead and get more knowledge and reps, you start to become consciously competent. That means that you get to have to think very hard and you can be competent. But then eventually you attain levels of mastery and you're unconsciously competent. You don't even have to try and you already know what it is that you need to do. Okay. So in the upcoming training sections, we are going to be walking you through the true power of automations and help you get the reps and the action. So that way you can actually create the building blocks that's going to allow you to be able to use this in your business. Okay. Now, in terms of the other question that we want to jump into, which is, hey, which software are we going to actually use? Which automation software are we going to use in order to do this? Now, in the past, we've already talked about all of the starter business softwares that are out there, and we've talked about the price tag, right? And so we've talked about, hey, you know what? These are all the different things. And one of those that we did mention earlier was going to be the business automation software, right? Zapier, Make. But the thing is that only includes 100 automations, right? And of course, that is with the price tag that adds up to $465, right? And so when you're looking at that, you're like, man, 100 automations and it still adds up to the total price tag of $465. Well, here's the thing. 100 automations is nothing, right? If you actually get set up properly with automations, you're probably going to be using hundreds, if not thousands of automations per month, right? And so here's the screenshot of the pricing of a popular software called Zapier. And so you see on here, a lot of beginner business owners who are wanting to go ahead and nickel and dime, like, oh, it's free. Look, that's very easy for me to go ahead and use. And what you don't see is like, cool, if I start using, let's say up to 10,000 automations or 10,000 tasks is what they call it per month, well, I'm getting up to, $200, $300 per month. And again, beginner business owners who are trying to nickel and dime see this word free and they don't actually know what that means because they don't have a system or a strategy to understand like, hey, that's not going to be able to include more than just a two-step zap because of the fact that you can only set a trigger and an action, and that's it. And so the problem with that is that beginner business owners want to be able to nickel and dime, but we've talked about this many times in the past, is that you don't want to be over here because this is where the entrepreneurs who are just trying to nickel and dime everything, who don't understand that in order to be in business, it is going to require for you to make some sort of investment. But you also don't want to be all crazy and just say, hey, you know what, I'm just going to lavishly spend on everything, because our approach, we've said this from the very beginning, is that our approach is to be balanced in the middle. And that's why when we recommend to you, we're thinking, okay, you know what, when we were starting out, we want to be efficient, but we don't want to be so efficient that we're nickel and diming. And at the same time, we don't want to be overspending either, right? And so that's why some of the best business owners understand this paradigm and they understand how to be able to balance both of this. And so we've said this many times before, but we want to go ahead and remind you again, because humans need to be reminded more than they need to be taught, is that this is the reason why you are inside of a program that is walking you through a system and a strategy rather than having to hodgepodge a bunch of different Frankenstein, duct tape, spiderweb mess of a monster. So that way, when we were making the decision of which business platform to actually partner up for students in the community, for ourselves even, we have to say, you know what? This is not going to be something that we just randomly put together. We got to say, hey, what is going to be the thing that has the longevity? So that way, even as the business starts, there is all the things that you need. But then also as you start to grow, right? We talked about some of the professional things that you're going to need as you start to grow. So that way the business platform has all of that. So it's not this hodgepodge of like, hey, my domain is on X, my website is on Y, my automations happen here, my scheduler happens here, and it's all over the place. And so this is the reason why we can actually support with a system, because of the fact that we have already gone ahead and not only used it ourselves, but also others in the community are using it as well. And that's what's working. And so if you decide to go ahead and hodgepodge a whole bunch of stuff together on your own, you got to understand that, hey, maybe there's a good chance that we might not be able to help with that, because we at the end of the day only know what is the system and the strategy that not only we're using, but other community members are using as well. And so to answer the question, which automation software are we going to use? Normally, if we're going to go out there and go ahead and sign up for, let's say, for example, something like Zapier or Make or something like that. Yeah, we get a couple automations, right? Maybe 50 to 100 automations for a very cheap price. But then as the business grows, we're not going to be able to have that. And so that's the reason why, once again, ClientKit is going to go ahead and come in for the save, because ClientKit has us covered when it comes to being able to go ahead and have automations inside already included. So it's not like we have to pay an additional cost, which is really awesome. And on top of that, it is also going to have all of the other softwares that are going to be included for us as well, which is just absolutely insane. Now, just a reminder here, you are going to just want to make sure that you are checking on the ClientKit starter plan versus the professional plan, because especially if you're going to start to get into automations and AI and all the stuff that we're going to be talking to you about, it may actually require for you to be on a pro plan. I'm not exactly sure about that. You just want to make sure that you check with that. If you're not sure, obviously go ahead and ask inside of the community, and other community members will be able to help there as well. The other question we want to go ahead and dive into before we close out this training is, hey, am I going to have to build out these automations myself? Well, guess what? Again, this is the reason why partnerships, being a part of an amazing community, and some of the partnerships that we've been able to negotiate because of the fact that we have this amazing community that we are a part of, is because of the fact that now we're actually going to be able to build a lot of these automations specifically already built out for you, and then go ahead and literally copy and paste them into your account as our gift to you that we're going to literally walk you through in the upcoming training sections. And then here's the cool part about this. Because this is a community, there's going to be other automations that community members are going to build. There's going to be other automations that you are going to build, right? Outside of the ones that we provide, you're going to go out there and you're going to build automations for yourself. You're going to innovate. And then guess what you're going to do? You're not going to just hold them to yourself and hoard them to yourself. You're going to share, because when you actually share, other people are going to share with you. And that is how we all get up the mountain. There is no guru on the mountain that you're just waiting around and saying, oh, you know what? Those coaches, they're going to go ahead and create these automations for me so I can just be spoon-fed and sit around and be remote control. No. This is a community. And even the things that we are building are only building because of the fact that we're seeing, hey, this is what has worked for us. We then share them. And then some of the things that we share with you here inside of these courses, we do because of the fact that other community members actually built them. And so that is the way that you need to approach this entire mindset is, hey, I'm going to build and I'm going to share because other people are going to share with me as well. Does that make sense? I hope so. So next up, what we're going to go ahead and talk about as we start to close out this training is what's next. Now that we've broken down, hey, what are automations? We now still have a bunch of other steps to go through in terms of, hey, how does the actual automations work inside of the business platform? Hey, how are we going to actually create an automation? How are we going to manage automations? How are we going to set up notification automations, calendar reminder automations? All of these are what we are going to go ahead and dive into immediately in the next action steps and in the next training sections as well. So don't stop here. You are doing a phenomenal job. Keep that motivation and keep that momentum going. Success doesn't find you. You have to go out and get it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is you going out and getting the success that you are looking for. We will catch you in the next training section.